clutch cable going down in here. And pull that off. We've got an Allen wrench to do that. And that clutch cable then, there's a little clip in there we'll bend out of the way. And you just kind of bend it down. And that'll give us enough room to get that clutch cable out of there. Just pull up and it'll fit right through that hole there. So there's your clutch cable there. Got that out. Then we'll continue to pull this. And that clutch cover, or that clutch cable runs down in here. Your clutch is actually on the other side. So just keep that in mind. Mess of Allen bolts here. We've got to pull this clutch arm off to pull this, I believe to pull this cover. We might have a cover, that arm may stay with this cover. We'll have to see, but you can adjust your clutch there. You've got a 12mm nut on there. And what you do, I'll show you how to do that quick. So you just go ahead and loosen that lock nut here. And that whole arm is going to want to move. I don't know if we'll end up having to hold it. You probably won't be able to hold it with a flat screwdriver, so we might try to hold it with some pliers here while we loosen that. Let's see, we might also try, we could try an impact. Yep, that was able to just loosen it right up. So what you do now then, tighten that nut down a little bit, but then grab a Phillips screwdriver and adjust that in. Now a lot of times what you do is you adjust it in until you feel pressure and then you back it out just slightly. And that's where you need to be. Then loosen your, and what that does, that allows your clutch to completely engage and disengage. So if you're pushing on it, your clutch will constantly be slipping. So if you've got pressure going in, so occasionally you'll have to adjust this. So that entails just pulling those Allens there, loosening that lock nut, turn this in till it kind of bottoms out. You can feel it tighten up, and then tighten down your lock nut. You want to make sure that this is in the right spot when you do that. It kind of fits in a groove there, and you don't want to adjust that unless that's in the right spot, or at least tighten it up, because it won't actually tighten up all the way. So that's how you adjust a clutch on this model. And if you've got a lot of miles, or you've been doing some pretty serious riding in hot weather, your clutch may be getting hot and slipping, so keep an eye on that. Got a rod and a ball that runs all the way behind this linkage here, and that's what disengages that clutch. So once we pull the clutch off the other side, if we were to tip that motor down, you'd be able to, that ball would roll out, and we'll get to that point. But we'll pull this stator and flywheel off first. A lot of Allens here. Your sight glasses underneath here, and again, check out my other video to see how you adjust valves. That requires to pulling those two flat screwdriver caps there. You want to make sure you use a good size screwdriver, a very big screwdriver, to pull those caps. A lot of times if you use too small one, you'll end up scratching that cover up and rounding those off. right, we'll pull all these off. You don't actually, just pulling this whole cover off here, you don't actually have to remove those flat screwdriver caps. There's a oil line there, or coolant line. And we'll get ready to pull this cover off. We'll make sure all the bolts are out. We've drained the oil already, but there might be some in there still. And this, you want to make sure you've got a good gasket on here. We've got that cover just about off there. It looks like we've got a couple of the starter gears stuck on there. So there's the stator there. We've got a sensor running down below this motor here. Takes a small Phillips screwdriver. Suppose we could cut that zip tie there, but we're gonna, yeah, I might have to cut that zip tie. Alright, we've got that zip tie off of there. Allows us to pull this cover off. There's your stator, there's your clutch. A small rod there. Your rest of the rod is here. Again, that goes all the way through, but it won't allow us to come pull it all the way out there. So this, turn that, it puts pressure on. It kind of slides out that way, putting pressure on your clutch. So there's your stator cover there. And then here's your stator assembly, or your flywheel here. And we've got a large nut down in there. I believe it's a 22. Remove that, and then we've got to have a puller to pull that flywheel. Regular threads on that one. And this crank is tapered, and so is that flywheel. That's what holds that on. So if we take a puller, this here, let's see if we've got the right size bolts in here. Looks like these are going to work. You want to make sure these go in quite a ways. Run this in. Make sure you don't damage those threads. A lot of times I'll put that nut back on there. And then it pops right off there. So you'll know when it pops right off. And we'll pull these. We've got that flywheel off there. There's your one-way gear. or your one-way bearing will only allow this gear to go one way. You can see there we've got a spring-loaded gear behind here, so you want to make sure you keep all the pieces for that. We just had a pin drop down there and a couple springs. So we've got a spring, it looks like a spring and a pin on each side of this gear that'll fit right down